Good morning. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well. And today we are going to discuss another segment of GS paper 3, your mains test series. So we are starting from first question. Firstly, we look at the question. Okay, what kind of question have and what is the necessary point you have to mention. The first question, what is wetland? And explain the Ramsar report. Cite some examples of Ramsar site from India. So in this question, firstly you have to find out the primary keyword, what is wetland, and explain it is called tail word. And the Ramsar report, cite from, cite it means you have to mention some Ramsar locations, some examples of Ramsar site from India. Okay, now in this question you have to simply tell us what is wetland. Wetland, we all are know that wetland is a land where the marshy land is present or the boggy land is present. So you start from this definition, explain the Ramsar report, the latest Ramsar report, and you have to also mention how many Ramsar sites in India and some of the examples you have to quote it with including map like Ramsar site, the Kevla Dev Ghana National Park, and there are so many Ramsar sites in India. तो आपको क्या करना था, सिंपली रामसर साइट्स को मेंशन करना था और वेटलैंड के बारे में बताना था. इज इट ओके? एंड यू हैव टू मेंशन द रिपोर्ट्स. So these are type of questions are very important because in this year so many Ramsar sites are adding in the list of, you can say that, Indian Ramsar sites. Okay. Now the next question is, what is cloudburst? And in the recent past, the number of incidents like cloudburst increases. Discuss the reason behind it and its mitigation. So firstly, you have to find out what is cloudburst. The cloudburst is a, you can say, the heavy rainfall in a very short period of time. If the rainfall is exceeding 100 millimeter or 10 centimeter within 1 hour, within hour. This is called cloudburst. In the recent past, number of incidents like cloudburst increases. Firstly, you have to mention why the number of incident like cloudburst increases, because of anthropogenic as well as the natural phenomena, because the cloudburst is as older as the precipitation is. So, but the frequency of cloudburst, like the incident cloudburst, increases because of anthropogenic reasons. So you have to mention and discuss the reason behind it. Climate change and anthropogenic reason. The you can say that the work of the man by the landscape changing, it is also responsible, and its mitigation. The cloudburst, that type of natural phenomena we cannot control, but we can reduce the disaster of the cloudburst. Okay, now in third question, discuss the urban heatland. Look at the question. Discuss the urban heatland. What is the means of urban heatland? Urban area change into heat land. Why? Because we all are know that we are facing the anthropogenic climate change, we are facing the anthropogenic global warming, and because of this reason, the urban land is heat up more than its surrounding area, so that it is converted into the urban heatland. Its causes and effect. In this second segment of the question, you have to talks about what are the causes of urban heatland and what is the effect of urban heatland. We all are know that the black roads, basaltic, asphaltic road, dark surfaces, and there are so many things like the multiple colors which traps the heat, darker color which traps the heat, it will reduce, it will increase the temperature of urban areas. We all are know that in a very fast or rapid rate we are doing deforestation. It also change the urban configuration of the area. So these are the some causes. And what is the effect of urban heatland? It will affect the marine ecology, it will affect the human psychology, it will affect the human behavior, it will also change the food pattern. There are so many effects, so you can mention here. Okay, Now, in the another question, probably this is the question which is almost out in exam. This question is come. Discuss the ISFR report 2023. Special mention of the northeastern state. This is the question which is almost, I can say that on a very, you can say that very confident manner, this question will definitely come in your upcoming mains. ISFR report 2023 and a special mention of Northeast. So simply you have to just put some data of the ISFR report, who will prepare this report and what this report shows some concern about the northeastern states as well as whole India, and a special mention of the graph where the tree cover is increasing, where the forest cover is increasing in northeast, because some of the points like Arunachal as a state have the decline of forestation, as well as Arunachal have second largest number of percentage the forest have. Okay. And the another question is discuss the ecosystem and its type. Okay, discuss the ecosystem. What is the means of eco? Eco, it means home, home, and system, it means the way of interaction, how the living organism interact with their surrounding living organism as well as their physical environment like biotic and abiotic components. Okay, and now its type. Ecosystem have basically two type of ecosystem. One is the terrestrial ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, and second one is marine ecosystem, or you can say that aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic, aquatic ecosystem. In this question, the ecosystem is something which have two part. One is terrestrial ecosystem, and the second one is aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem. We all are know that in the terrestrial ecosystem there are so many type of ecosystem like forest, like you can say the desert, like grasslands, these type of ecosystem. In aquatic, like marine, like wetlands, like ponds or the river ecosystem. These are the ecosystem. Okay, now you have to mention. And the another question, discuss the environment impact assessment and its importance. Now this question comes from 2020 environmental impact assessment. The assessment of any industry or any kind of setup assess the impact of environment on particular industry, particular construction. So environmental impact assessment is the assessment which is before going to start any project. There is a environment impact assessment. And post de facto projects, de post facto project, it means the project which shall be continued, but with the passage of time we have to check their environment impact on the environment. So it's important because it tells us time to time, it tells us how the environment badly affected by the anthropogenic regions. Okay, now again we have to comment on next question. Comment on the National Wetland Conservation Program initiated by the Government of India. Name of few India's wetland of international importance, including in the Ramsar site. Here you have to mention that what India is doing on national wetland conservation and program initiated by the government of India. Name of few India's wetlands. Some of the you have to mention some of the India's wetlands name and international importance wetlands including also. मतलब क्या करना था, एक तो आपको wetland national wetland conservation के बारे में बताना था, उसके साथ साथ you have to mention some of the few name of international wetlands which are important in context of India. ऐसा कौन कौन सा इंडिया का वेटलैंड है जो इंपॉर्टेंट है वर्ल्ड में, ठीक, उसके बारे में, जैसे केवलादेव घाना नेशनल पार्क, लोकटक, केबुल लामजाओ, these are the next question. The next question is, what is the disaster resilience and how it's determined? Describe the various elements of the resilience framework. Also mention the global targets of Sendai framework for the disaster risk reduction. Okay, what is the means of disaster resilience? Resilience, it means the capability to protect and conserve the disaster. So disaster resilience is type of building, type of infrastructure, type of anything which is, you can say that, which is resilience against the disaster, which combat, which reduce the impact of disaster. So you have to mention this and how it determines and describe the various element of disaster resilience. यहाँ पर आपको various disaster के resilience के एक तरीके से एलिमेंट्स को डिस्कस करना था, और फिर क्या करें, ग्लोबल टारगेट्स ऑफ सेंडाई फ्रेमवर्क. वी ऑल आर नो दैट द सेंडाई फ्रेमवर्क इज द आइडियल फ्रेमवर्क which talks about the disaster conservation. Next, how does biodiversity vary in India? We all are know that biodiversity is something which in particular area there is a diversification of multiple animals, plants, and diversity vary in India. How? Because biodiversity is influencing by precipitation, biodiversity is influencing by rainfall, temperature, insolation, and topography. These are the some factors which affects the biodiversity. And how is the biological diversity acts help in the conservation of flora and fauna? You have to mention biological diversity act. Okay. Now, in the next question, the frequency of earthquake appears to have increased in the Indian subcontinent. The frequency of earthquake. In this question will demand ki why the in the present day the frequency of earthquake has been day by day increases. However, India's preparedness for mitigating their impact has significant gaps. Discuss the various aspects. So इसमें क्या करना था, सीधे सीधे आपको बताना था कि frequency of earthquakes appears to have increased in Indian subcontinent. कैसे इंक्रीज हो रहा है, तो बिकॉज ऑफ एंथ्रोपोजेनिक रीजन, आइसोस्टैटिक इम्बैलेंस हो गया है, और हमने क्या किया है, हिमालय वाले रीजन से बहुत सारा कंस्ट्रक्शनल डेवलपमेंट करने लगे हैं, माइनिंग करने लगे हैं, ठीक, बहुत सारा, और भी एंथ्रोपोजेनिक और मैनमेड इंक्रोचमेंट इन द सेंसिटिव जोन ऑफ हिमालयाज रीजन, and India's preparedness for mitigating their impact has significant gap because there are so many reasons. One is the policy gap, one is the unwillingness of the political, you can say that, leaders, and the peoples are also unaware of the disastrous effects of the earthquake, and we can say that some of the lack of awareness, lack of education of the disaster in India. Next question, distinguish between the natural and man-made disaster. In this question you have to simply identify the difference between the man-made disaster and natural disaster, and also elucidate the effectiveness of disaster management system in India. तो पहले क्या बताना है, नेचुरल डिजास्टर क्या है एंड मैनमेड डिजास्टर क्या है. नेचुरल डिजास्टर लाइक अर्थक्वेक, नेचुरल डिजास्टर लाइक वोल्केनो, नेचुरल डिजास्टर लाइक ड्रॉट, नेचुरल डिजास्टर लाइक एल नीनो, and there are so many disaster which is man-made like flood, like drought is also man-made. So these type of you have to mention like Bhopal gas tragedy. Is it okay? These are the disaster. Next question. What are the challenges? Okay. Now the next question is, Okay, now my session is ended. One very, you can say that the very important request to all of you, whenever you have to approach the question, firstly break the question. This is not the segment where we can detailify the answers and where we can go deeper and deep dive into the all the angles, covered all the angles of the question. But in this series where our always motto to resolve the most of the queries ki how to approach the questions, how to analyze the question and how to structure the questions. आप अगर समझ पा रहे हो तो आप ये समझो कि इसका मोटिव सिर्फ यही है कि हम यहाँ पर आपको ये बता रहे हैं कि क्या लिखा जा सकता था. ठीक, this discussion has not been motto to solve and write down all the answers on the live or the YouTube. So I hope you have a enough insight of the discussion. Okay, so without panic, you have to attempt and wish you all the best. Thank you.